Welcome to Left in Kentucky, the podcast of Indivisible Northern Kentucky District 4. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Welcome back to Left in Kentucky here, and we are enjoying our Christmas holidays this year as everybody's trying desperately not to laugh. So welcome back. And we have an exciting Christmas special for you. We're going to be talking about what we have coming up in 2020. There's a couple of races that you may or may not have heard about in the state of Kentucky. You know, you may not have heard about the Mitch McConnell race. There's not been much talk about that, so we're gonna be talking about a few of those things.
What rock have you been under?
And back with us, we have the lovely and talented Miss Ann Dickerson.
Hey, everybody! Happy holidays!
She was a little bit busy last year. Maybe if we're lucky, she'll tell us one of her wonderful war stories from working out in the field. And also with us, we have the also lovely and talented Miss Amy Ferguson.
Hello, everyone. Ho, ho, ho.
And she was also a little busy last year with running for Boone County clerk. So that kept her busy between that and the farm, as usual.
Yes. I'm less busy now.
And that's a good thing.
It is.
But as usual, we're going to start off with our Cow Patties.
Wow.
Our lovely Cow Patties.
I might know a little bit about what that sounds like.
All right. Amy, why don't you start off? Who has your Cow Patty this time?
All right. So the proud winner of my Cow Patty is Mitch McConnell. He likes to call the Democrats the do-nothing Democrats. But he hasn't let a Senate vote on hundreds of bills passed by the House go. So for his hypocrisy and his pride in the title of the Grim Reaper, I give my Cow Patty to Moscow Mitch McConnell.
Well deserved.
Yeah, that's almost a daily drip for him.
Oh, there's a pleasant image. Thanks for that. All right, Ann, who do you have?
Senator Rand Paul. His rich man's solution to student loan debt has to be one of the most batshit crazy things. And he's out there all proud of it. Like, look, like this 4-year-old going, look, Mommy, look what I did. And it's like, I don't know. He's smoking some good Western Kentucky stuff that I need to get my hands on because I don't know who thinks that allowing people to dip into their retirement, their 401k plans early so they can pay off student loan debt is a good idea. Is he expecting everybody to work into their 90s as baggers at Kroger's? What the hell? I mean, they're just such a white male privileged, rich idea. Anybody with any sense would look at him and laugh in his face.
Yeah, it's, we already have a problem with where the average everyday person, the 98% of us, right, have a hard enough time saving for retirement as it is.
Right.
And now we're going to go further into debt on our retirement to make sure that the banks get rich on their loans.
Right. I mean, I just, it's crazy.
The stupidity is real.
Well, that seems like a well-deserved cow patty. And my cow patty for this time goes to one of our cattle that is leaving the ranch.
Good riddance.
Matt Bevan.
Yeah, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you, brother.
I hear that. And
actually, let that door hit him.
Yeah. And he has earned the Cow Patty Award for his lovely parting shot of pardoning a significant number of folks on his way out the door, including some very interesting people. One gentleman that raped a 9-year-old girl. Gentleman, ironically, of course. And not only did Bevan do that, but he doubled down on it and tried to justify why he did it, stating that, he didn't believe that the rape actually took place because the girl's hymen was still intact.
Yeah, don't get me started. Don't even get me started.
Yeah. So there was that, and then there was the killer that cut off the lady's head and put it in a bag that he pardoned, and a number of others.
Or the dude who killed somebody in front of his family.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's pretty disturbing to see somebody who did not see the evidence, was not part of the trial, to just come along and pardon people for really heinous crimes. So,
but here's the thing, and this is the take-home message that I'll broadcast anywhere and everywhere, every opportunity I get. For all of these GOPers who, propped him up, praised him, were on his side to the bitter end until the recanvass, who are now having buyer's remorse. You're $1 late and a day short, people, and they should be held accountable. And any Democrat, independent, whomever, running against an incumbent candidate who doesn't hammer them over that, when Bevan showed us who he was all along, you're crazy. Yeah. If I was running a campaign, I'll tell you right now, that's what I'd be doing. I would hammer them left and right. Oh, so you're okay with him accusing, teachers of allowing kids to be molested, of trying drugs for the first time because they were exercising their right to protest down in Frankfurt. That was fine with you. That wasn't a step too far, among the many, 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 many other things he did over the course of 4 years. But he finally steps over the line as he's walking out the door. Get out of here.
Yeah, I think
that's a cross they all deserve to be nailed to.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm really hoping we see in the state races coming up this year a lot of people holding the folks to task who were in lockstep with Bevan right up till the very end, and not letting them just slide by on that.
Absolutely.
So,
and there's going to be more. There's going to be more that continues to come out, like this latest bombshell where newly elected Governor Beshear released the actuarial analysis of the 2017 proposed pension bill that they refused to release. It was sitting there all along. And who was sitting on it? It wasn't just Bevan. You got people like Damon Thayer, Adam Koenig, John Schickel, and all these other people who knew what was going on. And they're just going to, bat their eyes and claim innocence? No. You don't get to play this game now.
Yep, I agree. So congratulations, Matt.
And thank you to everyone that went out and voted for Andy. It's because of you that we do not have to deal with 4 more years of that bullshit.
Amen.
For our second segment, we will be talking about some of the positive news stories. It's Christmas. Kind of want to keep it up now and a little positive. So we got several positive things that have happened recently. And one of the things I want to talk about, I'll start it off here, is our new leadership in the House. For the first time in Kentucky history, we have a woman that's the leader of the legislative caucus, Joni Jenkins. Yay! Minority leader. Minority whip is also a woman, Representative Angie Hatton from District 94. Yay! And then returning as the I think it's legislative caucus. Anyway, I forget exactly what his title is, but it's Derek Graham, who was the first African American to serve as a House Democratic leader. So we have a 3-person leadership team that's full of firsts. Very exciting.
Woohoo!
Very exciting for Kentucky. You know, the former leader of minority leader was Rocky Atkins, who was named to Bashir's cabinet, and so that's why he has moved on in the new election. So congratulations to Joni and Angie and Derek, and we look forward to the great things they'll be doing coming up in the next General Assembly, which starts in just a couple of weeks on January 7th. And before we move on to our next piece of good news, I'll let you know that in 2 weeks we will have our next podcast, and we will be doing a preview of the 2020 legislative session and kind of going over bills that have been pre-filed that you might want to keep an eye on and things to keep your eye on in the legislative session. So that'll be coming up in 2 weeks in our next podcast. What other positive news we got out there, Amy?
Well, our new Governor Andy Beshear, signed an executive order that restored voting rights to more than 140,000 nonviolent felons who had served their sentence. He believes in the law and in redemption. This was a move that was long overdue, I would say. So good job, Governor Beshear. Also, he eliminated that horrible work requirement that Bevin added to the Medicaid that really hurt a lot of people. So we're glad to see that gone. So that's some good stuff that our governor coming out of the governor's mansion.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about that work requirement was that seasonal workers who do things during one season, they might work a whole bunch during that one season, but then the rest of the year they're not doing that seasonal work, yet they would still have that requirement. And so it was pretty onerous to put that on folks. And then you have a lot of people who just aren't able to do work, and that's one of the reasons that they're in that situation and need the help. So it was really good to see that go, and the restoring the voting rights of the felons who've completed their terms. That's huge. That's an issue that I'm very passionate about, criminal justice reform in general.
Yes.
And I think that was a really big step.
I'm glad to see Governor Beshear fulfilling some of the promises he made on the campaign trail.
Well, yeah. I mean, in his first 10 days, every day it was like, put-cha-ching, put-cha-ching, put-cha-ching. And it was just like, promised, 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 promised. And now it's delivered, delivered, delivered. I mean, it's crazy. I love it. I love, the positivity, since we're on our positive track here for Christmas.
Yeah.
Coming out of Frankfurt, it sets the tone for all good things for him.
Absolutely.
And, for the upcoming legislative session.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And even in as early as the inauguration speech, right? He talked about, one of the big things over the last couple of sessions were people getting locked out of the state house, and that belongs to the people. And Andy Beshear making the point of this: as long as he's governor, the state house will be open, the building in Frankfurt, the Capitol, will be open, and the people of Kentucky will be able to come to the Capitol and visit the Capitol. We're not going to lock people out,
as it should be.
So so that's really positive. I was glad to hear that. What other positive news we got going on?
I'm sure we'll be visiting the People's House here soon when General Assembly starts, right, Ann?
Yeah, and there's a lot of good things, and I want to focus a little bit more now, kind of take it back, since you were asking for some stories from the trail. As one of the Northern Kentucky field organizers for the statewide coordinated campaign. Wow. Let me just start with that. Great experience. Learned a lot. But Northern Kentucky in particular, there were a lot of positives. And so I want to focus on that. The big three, as we like to call them, Kenton, Boone, and Campbell counties, had some of the top swings in the state in that governor's race from Republican to Democrat. And in fact, here where we're sitting at this moment in Boone County, had the biggest swing in the entire state.
Wow.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. Even though Andy didn't win this county, it still came through for him huge.
Right.
Because for years and years and years, Boone County has always been a stronghold that Republicans could count on.
Yep.
With people saying, they just laugh basically and say things like, that's where, Democrats go to die. So if
wait a minute, I live in Boone County.
Right.
I don't like that.
Right. And
they'll have to drag me out of my house. So
yeah, right.
Happen.
So, but then, so that naturally lends itself to, so if progressives think they're going to do any better, ha ha ha, ain't happening. Well, we quashed that quite a bit. And so I'm going to give you my, instead of tales from the crypt, I'll give you my my stories from the field, my notes from the field. That's what I was posting on Facebook about. I pushed heavily for Boone County, heavily preached Boone County, even though I'm not a Boone County resident.
I can attest to this.
That she's not a Boone County resident?
No, that she pushed.
Oh, yeah, that.
Because of the potential here, there are so many people that we never talk, that campaigns don't talk to, regardless of what level the campaign is. It's just automatically believed that's a Republican stronghold. And both sides do this. Mm-hmm. No one is innocent. And they look at these areas and they go, that's all Republican. So Republican says, I don't have to worry about spending time, money, and energy there because I know they're going to vote for me. And the Democrat says, I don't want to spend time, money, or energy there because I know they're going to vote for the other guy. Meanwhile, you got people that you're leaving out of the process, that you're leaving out of the discussion.
Yep.
If there's one thing that I learned above and beyond everything else, it's that people are open to the conversation. And if they weren't, we wouldn't have seen the results that we did.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. That's just a fact. Registered Republicans outnumber registered Democrats in Boone County by 24,000. That's huge.
Wow.
That's several other Kentucky counties combined.
Right.
It is daunting, trust me, I know, yes.
So but never should we just walk away from any area and say, I'm not going to worry about that.
Right.
Those people deserve to be talked to. And I can't tell you how many conversations I had with people where, they were lifelong Republicans who voted for Andy Beshear.
Yeah. And
it's because somebody took the time to knock on their door and have a conversation with them. I would see, this is so funny, I would see mailers, like, in the bushes, and you knew they'd been there a while because they're all, like, weathered after rain and stuff like that. And what's so funny is, it wasn't one side or the other. It was both. I mean, it didn't matter if I was at a Democrat's door, a Republican's door, an independent's door, and I didn't know before I walked up to the door who it was. Where you would see, just off to both sides, maybe behind a hedgerow of bushes, you would see material from both.
Right.
People are tired of that. So, here's my warning to Republicans. You want to continue to run these, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, multi-million-dollar campaigns and spend all this money on all these mailers, the clock is ticking and it's going to turn on you. And I saw that. I saw that with the conversations I had. Where I looked people in the face. Oh, I'm the this supporter, that supporter. And I would look them in the face and say, name one thing, that person has done for you. What have they done? What did they vote for? What policy did they change? What did they bring to the table that helped you, someone in your family, someone that you love or care about? And when they stare off into space, and I would stop, I would just let it hang there.
Yep.
Until they came back with an answer. And very, very, very few could.
Yep.
That's part of what I believe in as well as, I'm a registered Democrat. However, I'm open to the conversation with anybody, anywhere, at any time that's willing to engage with me.
Right. Without
it devolving into some, name-calling horrible thing. It doesn't have to be that way. But my favorite story that I've told and that people like the best, I was talking with a gentleman who, told me that he was a registered Democrat while I was talking to him, but he looked at me and goes, I dare you to go knock on that guy's door. It was his next door neighbor. Big, huge Trump 2020 flag at the top of the flagpole. And this was literally one of the biggest flagpoles I've ever seen.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm like looking up.
That's a big flag.
Kind of like the, but kind of like the Jack and the Beanstalk deal where you're looking and you're like, can my neck turn that far? I mean, it was huge. And so here, the guy was on my list. And I looked at the gentleman I was speaking with and I said, challenge accepted. And he just laughed. He thought it was so funny. So I go and I knock on the door and I introduce myself and say who I am and who I'm there with. And he says, he was generally a really nice guy. And he says, oh, sweetheart, you're at the wrong door. And I said, I am. Why is that? He pointed to his flagpole. Well,
that's a flag.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big Trump supporter. And I looked at him. I said, that's fine. I said, I'm not here to talk to you about anything on the federal level. I want to talk about Kentucky. I want to talk about what's going on in Kentucky. I want to go talk about the direction of Kentucky and what's going on here. And he looked at me and he said, I typically just vote straight Republican. And I said, you do? I said, so all anybody has to do is put an R behind their name? They don't have to speak to your issues or your concerns about anything? And that stopped him in his tracks. It was clear that he had never had anybody kind of challenge him on that.
Right.
In truth, I would do the same thing to a Democrat.
Right.
Whoever these candidates are, regardless of party, needs to speak to your issues. What's important to you? And if they can't give you an answer, or if they waffle and hem and haw back and forth, they ain't ready for prime time, and they're not getting my vote.
Yeah.
And we have several candidates out there right now on both sides who currently are doing this. They got a long way to go to earn my vote. But long story short, I had a really nice conversation with this guy. And then his wife came over. And his wife was speaking with us. By the time I left that door, they were both voting for Andy Bashir.
Wow.
That's what you do. Yeah. You talk to people. You treat them with respect like human beings, and you leave no door untouched.
Yep.
Petersburg. When's the last time a candidate ever went down to Petersburg? What are we just...
Right.
That place doesn't exist? They just get mailers?
Yep.
Come on. I don't care who you are. I don't care what office you're running for. If you don't have a significant field strategy as part of your campaign, just stop, because you're not going to win.
Yep.
I will take a robust, active, strategic field plan over anything else any day of the week. Yep. And that doesn't mean that I agree 100% with the way it was done either.
Right.
But the benefits, even of one that, I don't think it's perfect. You could have a different view. You could have a different view. And that's the beauty of field, too. Right. Even if there's things I would tweak or change, it's still That's what got the job done. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
Going out and knocking on doors and talking with people from both sides of the aisle and the middle.
Yep.
You're talking to independents, making sure that they were going to get out and vote, and talking to them about the issues that faced our governor and why that needed to be Andy Beshear. It paid off.
Yeah, when a couple years ago, when I was first considering running for state representative, I was talking to Dennis Keene and kind of asking for his advice and what he thought and whatnot. And as we were talking about that, Dennis was in District 67 for 24 years, 25 years, something like that. He's been there quite a long time. But one of the first things he told me, he was like, you're going to get a lot of people that say, oh, you should do this mail and you should do that and you should do this other thing. He said, no matter what anybody tells you, the main thing you need to remember is that elections are won and lost at the door, not at the mailbox.
Absolutely.
So all politics is personal. All politics is personal. It's won and lost at the door, not at the mailbox.
Absolutely. And the reason for that is this. When you go and you talk to people and you have these conversations, people start to form an opinion based on your conversations with them. And so then 2 days or 2 weeks or whatever later, they get this, I'm just going to say it, obscene mailer from the opposition that's spouting all this crazy stuff. It's very hard for somebody who has talked with a representative of the campaign in person about the issues that are important to them to then rationalize that in their mind with what they're seeing on this flyer.
Yep.
And their gut and their mind, just because of how we're hardwired as human beings, is going to go with that personal experience over a flyer.
Absolutely.
Any day of the week.
I agree. So good stuff. Definitely good things going on in the Commonwealth now.
Thank you for your service.
Let me tell you, in a lot of ways, it did feel like a war, but I would never put me on that level.
Yeah.
There's other ways to serve the public.
I know you. I know you worked through some really blistering hot days.
Oh my God! Let me tell you. I mean,
oh, the stories we could tell if it was a different thing.
Yeah. I got to the point where I was keeping. I actually had a cooler in my car, and I would keep water.
Yeah.
In that, so that I always had a cold drink. I didn't have to go anywhere. And I also kept in baggies washcloths that
Right.
I had wet.
Yep.
Then I put it inside the plastic bag and then put that down into the ice water so that when I needed it,
Yep.
I'd pull it out and wipe my forehead and lay it on the back of my neck and just blast the air conditioner in my car for whenever I needed a break.
Yep.
When I felt like, ooh, I'm getting a little woozy,
Yep. Excellent.
But, yeah.
So if you're out there listening and you're trying to figure out how to get involved, find a campaign and volunteer to canvass. If you just absolutely can't walk, can't canvass, you can also volunteer to make phone calls, because phone calls are useful as well. But campaigns need help. There's plenty of campaigns out there, a couple here in northern Kentucky, several throughout District 4 and throughout the state, both local and statewide. And, of course, there's a couple things going on federal that we'll be getting into in the next couple of months.
And for those people who can't, just truly can't, one thing that I think is going to play a key role coming up in 2020 is drivers. Because... people aren't used to the territory.
Right.
Let's face it. There are certain streets that are not walkable, canvassable streets. They're 2 lanes with no sidewalks, and so you basically have to driveway to driveway to try to hit these people. So again, here's another thing: we're leaving votes on the table by not strategizing how to hit these areas, because they're too long, too significant, and too big to leave out continuously year after year after year.
Yep.
So the SMART campaigns will have a field program that includes the need for volunteer drivers, people who want to be involved, who want to do something and are willing to do this, where it would look something like a bulk drop-off, hit one of these areas, drop off, 2 people in one spot, and drive a little ways, drop off 2 people in another spot, and then, organize it so that you're meeting up with them after they hit so much area, and that driver is looping around and helping out that way by, giving them a ride to the next set, or providing them with a cool drink or a moment to jump in the car and take a breather. Yep. And,
That's a great point. That is really a great point, because when you're out there on those hot days, even just a few minutes in the car with the air conditioning running because it's been running because somebody is dedicated to driving is a huge difference than hopping back in your car and it's been sitting there for the hour while you've been out walking and it's hotter than it is outside.
Right.
And now you're sitting there praying for it to cool down.
Well, and it's not just, it's not just the heat. We faced... I don't know how many days of being out there in the rain,
Yep.
When you show up with this much, I know people can't see me right now, but I'm trying, this much of your face showing because you got your poncho on and you're trying to keep your materials dry underneath your poncho. I don't know how people, I still have not figured this out, how anybody goes out and canvases and they take a selfie with, and they're holding an umbrella. I'm like, how in the hell did you do that? Because I got stuff in my hands.
Yeah.
Get one of those umbrella hats.
I know. I almost looked for one of those because I was like,
dang, Christmas present opportunity missed.
I need my hands free when I'm canvassing for the stuff that I'm carrying. Anyway,
there you go. If you're looking for last minute presents for your fellow canvassers, get the umbrella hats. Yeah, we need to talk to KDP and say, hey, here's what you guys really need to put in the store.
Yeah,
along with your Moscow Mitch merchandise, put in some Democratic umbrella hats.
There you go.
That's awesome. All right, so good stuff going on in the state. We're very, very happy about that. We look forward to more good stuff coming up in 2020. So looking forward into our crystal ball here, we have some things coming up in the near future. For the podcast, we will be running these every 2 weeks. So you can look for our first one right at the beginning of January. The first full week of January, we'll have our next podcast. And that one we'll be talking about the General Assembly, the 2020 General Assembly in Kentucky, and kind of what to expect. We'll be covering that. First date of the General Assembly is the 7th of January, Tuesday, January 7th. That is the first date of 2020 General Assembly, and this is a budget year. So this is the long session where they do the budget.
Yeah. They go 3 months instead of 2. Ooh.
Yeah. So it runs through, the main part runs through the 26th of March. March 31st is reserved. March 31st and April 1st, April Fool's Day, are held for concurrence. So I thought that was amusing on there.
I'm sure we're going to find it amusing in April, too.
Yeah. And then April 2nd through the 13th is reserved for overriding vetoes. And then there are 2 final days on the 14th and 15th of April. And sine die is set for April 15th. That's the 60th day of the session. So that is the legislative calendar. Make sure that you are staying up to date. We'll be talking about what's going on in the General Assembly throughout those months. I would also recommend checking out KET's legislative site on the internet. They live stream all of the open sessions from the state legislature, so you can really keep up with what's going on. I also recommend checking out the LRC, the Legislative Research Commission. If you look up LRC Kentucky, you'll get to the Legislative Research Commission website for Kentucky. They have all the bills and the status of those bills, including the votes. They also already have up the pre-filed bills, and we'll be talking about some of those pre-filed bills in our next meeting. But if you want to see them all, go to the Legislative Research Commission website. What other calendar items do we have?
So for our monthly indivisible meetings, we have decided that we're going to meet on the first Thursday of every month. And we're going to meet at Acapulco Restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the one on Turfway. Please note that that is the one on Turfway that we're meeting. And our meetings will begin at 6:30.
Excellent. You know, it's right there on Turfway. If you've been in Northern Kentucky for a while, it's where the old Tumbleweed is, but it's right out there for where Target and whatnot is. It's real easy to get to from the interstate. It's just off 75, either the Turfway exit or the Erlanger exit, or even the 18 exit. Any of those, it's real easy to get there, but the Turfway exit's the closest one.
So please join us.
Yes.
We would love to see you. Also, keep in mind that next year we're doing the convention for the party, for the Democratic Party. And so if you want a voice in your executive committee, the people that run your executive committee, or if you would like to join your executive committee in your county, the first set of meetings is the precinct convention, and that is on the 21st of March. So if you're interested in getting involved in your county party, look up some of those dates and the things that you would need to do. I'll have a little bit more information in our next podcast.
Excellent. What else?
Fast approaching on the calendar. If you are interested in switching parties, or if you know independents who are tired of being left out of the primary process, please, please, please make note. You have to change your registration by December 31st. Once the calendar changes to January 1st, you may not change your party affiliation any longer. So, make sure that you do that. Make sure that you tell people about that, because one of everyone's goals should be to drive up turnout in the primary. And to that end, also, last year they passed a bill that sped up the primary process in terms of filing. So this year, you only have until January 10th to file to run for office. And if you are not interested in filing for office yourself, please, 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 please look for people to run for these state legislative offices, for city councils, for school boards. We need people running for each one of these seats. And this year in particular, there's a lot more of them than there have been in the past. In fact, I venture there's more of them coming up in 2020 than in any year that we've been going on. February will mark our 3-year anniversary.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Happy birthday.
We'll have to have a big party at that meeting.
Yeah, we'll make that
Any
one.
excuse to have a big party is
If
good with me. I like
Pitcher
it.
of margaritas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
Acapulco.
maybe show up early for that one, and we'll party. So anyway, those are two things that I really want, those two deadlines for people to keep in mind. If anybody knows anybody interested, and we, unfortunately, when you say Northern Kentucky, people automatically only think about the big three. The fact of the matter is District 4 is very widespread, and it goes on the western side from Louisville Metro all the way up over to Ashland in Boyd County. And so a lot of people get left out. Make sure if you know anyone in any of the 20 counties that are included in District 4 that are interested in getting involved, that are interested in running for office, that are interested in hearing more information, please connect them with us. Either they can sign up for our email list. They can follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. They can now start following our podcast because We started off with a bang. Things got a little busy and crazy for us, and now we're back in action. Newer, better, stronger, faster.
Like
ready.
a $6 million man.
That's right. You knew. See, my age is showing. But we're ready to go for 2020. We're fully invested. And we hope you all are too, that you're ready to be that much more involved because this is the year. People make the comment they can sleep when they're dead. Y'all can sleep in 2021 because there ain't nothing in 2021. 2020 is the year. We need every last person to give every last ounce of everything they can give because the work will never be done.
Yep, definitely. Hey, I wanted to ask you a question on the December 31st deadline to change your party.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you want to vote in your new party as you, like in the primary for the new party in 2020.
Correct.
You can still change your party affiliation after December 31st, but it won't take effect for the 2020 voting cycle.
It won't take effect for the primary.
For the primary. Okay,
right.
so
you can work in the general, though.
which is the only one that it matters.
Right,
correct.
Right.
That's the only time your party affiliation really matters.
And we have some really contentious races coming up. So more than any other time that I can remember, this year, the primary, I'm going to be preaching the primary, because we all know what to do in the general.
Yep.
But if you want your voice heard, if you strongly believe in one candidate over another, and you want to make sure that person is who we send through to the general, to the big dance, use the basketball terminology, maybe people relate a little better. We have to have as much of an increase in turnout during the primary this year as we did during the general last year.
Yep.
That's my challenge to Kentucky, especially Northern Kentucky. Yep. Drive up primary turnout.
And just so you're aware, for the Senate seat that's up in 2020, I think there's 4 or 5 Democrats.
There are 9 Democrats running for that seat. Now, are they all viable? Probably not. And some of them may, make a decision by January 10th, the filing deadline, not to run. Mm-hmm. So we need to probably give it until then to really settle. However, there are, for my personal, I'll make this personal, not a thing. For my personal preferences, there are at least 4 candidates that I think or are worthy of really putting some time into learning about. Mm-hmm. There are definitely some progressives out there. There are Democrats out there who are not afraid to be Democrats. So, let's make sure that we don't allow one voice or another to suck all the oxygen out of the room. Make sure you're doing your due diligence as a concerned citizen and an educated voter, and let's start looking at these people.
Yeah, so you're definitely going to have a choice of people to vote for in the primary. Also, in the congressional seat that's up, there'll be we believe there's going to be multiple Democratic candidates running for that as well in the primary. So those are 2 big races that you'll definitely, if you're registered as a Democrat, you'll be choosing who will be helping choose who is the candidate that represents the Democratic Party. And I believe there's multiple candidates on the Republican side as well. So if you're a Republican, you will also be choosing multiple candidates. I know that in the Senate there's a couple who have already registered.
Right. I think I think there's 3 right now running against Thomas Massey.
Yeah.
On the Democratic side.
Yeah.
On the Republican side, I think it still remains to be seen whether or not he's going to get that challenge from his own party in the primary. Kim Moser has thrown it out there.
Yeah, I heard that.
And she was public about it. I mean, there were articles in the paper, so it's not like it's a state secret.
Right.
The question is, here's the thing. She's now put it out there, so is she going to follow through? Is she going to put up or shut up? And it's a great talking point for any and every other candidate in the race. Obviously, there's a lack of confidence in Mr. Massey.
Yep.
So,
alrighty, so that's what we got coming up here in the next couple of months. Some exciting stuff, lots of stuff to talk about. So if you have suggestions, topics that you'd like to see us cover, or guests that you'd like us to try to get on, we will be having some guests on our podcast in the future. Please drop us a line on our Facebook page or send an email to us and let us know who you'd like to see or what topics you'd like us to discuss, and we will certainly take those into account. But with that being said, it looks like we're about at the end of our time here. So once again, Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Don't overconsume anything out there, guys. Come on. Be
Yep.
safe.
Drink responsibly, party responsibly,
Eat responsibly.
eat responsibly. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa. If I missed anything. Festivus.
It's the Yule.
Merry Festivus, the Yule. So that'll do it for this week. You guys have a good time. We'll see you in a couple of weeks for our next episode. This has been Left in Kentucky, the podcast of Indivisible Northern Kentucky, District 4.